You feel guilty every time you eat junk food. You look down at your body, at the fat you are trying to lose, and you think you lack discipline. But you don't. That fat is an evolutionary trophy. Your ancestors bled, hunted, and died to build the biological machinery that stores that energy. The truth is, your brain isn't broken, it's working perfectly. It's just preparing for an ice age that isn't happening. Millions of years of evolution wired your body to survive starvation. You hate it because modern society tells you to, but take away the heating and the delivery apps, and that fat is the only reason you survive the month. Right now, your body is desperately trying to save you from a brutal winter that will never come. Right now, you live in a biological anomaly, a world where calories are cheap, fast, and everywhere. A modern grocery store is a miracle. A drive-thru is magic, but your DNA doesn't know what a drive-thru is. Your DNA thinks you are still walking through a barren savanna, looking for a handful of fibrous roots just to make it to tomorrow. Take the modern world away. Strip out the grocery stores, the refrigerators, the farms. Put yourself out on the open land 100,000 years ago. You wake up cold. Your stomach aches. It has ached for 3 days. There is no pantry to walk to. There is only the land, and the land is empty. For 99% of human history, starvation was the baseline. It wasn't a tragedy that happened during a bad year. It was a constant creeping shadow that followed every single human being from the moment they were born to the moment they died. Finding food wasn't an errand. It was a war fought every single day, with no days off, no vacations, and no guarantee of success. You look at a modern apple and see a healthy snack. A hunter-gatherer would look at a modern apple and see a mythical object. Wild fruit was tiny, bitter, and mostly filled with seeds. Meat was lean, tough, and required you to burn massive amounts of energy just to chase it down. And tracking wasn't a weekend hobby. It was a brutal endurance event. Running barefoot across cracked earth, tracking blood trails for 10, 15 miles under a blistering sun, knowing that if you failed, the tribe didn't eat. Every calorie was earned through sweat, pain, and time. You had to spend energy to get energy. And the math was brutal. If you spent 1,000 calories chasing an animal and didn't catch it, you were one step closer to death. You were literally bankrupting your biological accounts. Do that 3 days in a row, and your body starts to shut down. Do it for a week, and that's the end. So, how are you still here? How did your ancestors survive a world that absolutely refused to feed them? The problem gets worse when you look at the human body. We are a biological disaster when it comes to energy efficiency. We don't have thick fur to keep us warm, which means we have to burn our own calories just to maintain our core body temperature. We are bipedal, which is great for seeing over tall grass, but terrible for sudden bursts of speed. But the biggest liability is inside your skull. Your brain is a calorie black hole. It only makes up about 2% of your total body weight, but it demands 20% of your daily energy. It is an incredibly expensive piece of machinery. A chimpanzee's brain burns about half of that. A dog's brain burns a fraction. But your brain? It requires a massive, constant stream of glucose just to keep the lights on. Even when you are sleeping, your brain is quietly burning through your energy reserves. In a world where calories are scarce, carrying around a massive, hungry brain should have been an evolutionary death sentence. If a famine hits, the animal with the lowest energy requirement survives. The human should have died first. Wrong body, wrong brain, worst possible environment. But we didn't die, because our bodies have built a defense mechanism, a way to cheat the system. We became the greatest biological hoarders on planet Earth. When you eat a massive meal today, your body doesn't just burn what it needs and discard the rest. It aggressively stores it. It takes every single extra calorie and packs it away as adipose tissue, fat. To you, it's an annoyance. To an ancient human, it was a biological battery, a life insurance policy written in lipids. When winter hit and the animals vanished and the plants died, that fat was the only thing keeping the heart beating. The human body learned to run on its own reserves for weeks at a time. It learned to slow down the metabolism. It learned to squeeze every drop of energy out of every piece of food it could find. But storing fat wasn't enough. The body needed to make sure you actually wanted to find the food in the first place. So, evolution hijacked your brain. It built a dopamine reward system so powerful it overrides logic. When an ancient human stumbled across a beehive full of honey, their brain didn't say, have a little bit. It said, eat all of it right now, because you might never find this again. Sugar, salt, and fat were incredibly rare in nature. Finding them was like finding biological gold. So, your brain rewarded you. It flooded your system with feel-good chemicals every time you consumed high-calorie food. It hardwired you to crave it, to seek it out, to obsess over it. That wasn't a lack of discipline. That was a survival instinct holding a gun to your head. The humans who didn't gorge themselves on sugar and fat when they found it, they died in the next famine. The ones who did, they survived. They passed their genes down to you. You are the descendant of the most successful binge eaters in human history. But the body didn't stop there. It developed another trick, insulin resistance. Today, insulin resistance is a medical red flag. It's the precursor to type 2 diabetes. It's a disease. But 50,000 years ago, it was a superpower. During long periods of starvation, your muscles would temporarily stop responding to insulin. Why? Because the brain needed the glucose. The muscles could run on fatty acids, but the brain demanded sugar. By making the muscles insulin resistant, the body kept the precious glucose circulating in the blood, ensuring that no matter how starving you got, your 3-pound supercomputer stayed online. Your body was running a flawless, perfectly balanced energy conservation program. It was built for a world of extreme scarcity, a world where feast and famine were the two metronomes of life. You feast when you kill a mammoth. You starve for 3 weeks until you kill another one. The system worked. It carried us through ice ages. It carried us across barren continents. It let us conquer the world. Then, around 10,000 years ago, agriculture happened. We stopped moving. We started farming. We domesticated wheat, corn, and rice. The famines didn't stop, but the steady flow of carbohydrates began. And then, about 100 years ago, the final shift happened. We figured out how to mass-produce calories at an industrial scale. We invented synthetic fertilizers, factory farming, and high-fructose corn syrup. We learned how to isolate sugar, refine it, and put it in a bright plastic wrapper. We removed the chase, we removed the pain, we removed the famine. But we kept the bodies. You are walking around a modern supermarket wearing a 300,000-year-old survival suit. The environment changed, but your DNA didn't. Your brain still thinks you are out on the savannah. When you eat a donut, your brain still fires that same dopamine surge it used to reserve for wild honey. It still screams, "Eat all of it, winter is coming." But winter isn't coming. The famine never arrives. The biological battery just keeps charging and charging and charging until it breaks the machine. For millions of years, the greatest threat to human existence was simply not having enough food. We spent our entire evolutionary history fighting a desperate war against starvation. We fought, we adapted, and we won. We won so completely that we broke the balance. Today, for the first time in the history of our species, more people die from eating too much than from eating too little. The diseases of the modern world, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, aren't bugs in the system. They are the system working exactly as it was designed to, violently clashing with a world that no longer makes sense. We didn't lose our discipline. We lost our environment. We are apex survivors, perfectly tuned to survive the harshest conditions the planet could throw at us, now slowly dying of comfort.